Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going to explore an absolutely chilling yet fascinating astronomical scenario. You know, we all look up at the night sky, and it's so easy to take our closest celestial neighbor for granted. But today, we're looking at the sudden disappearance of the moon. We're going to unpack exactly what would happen to our planet if it simply vanished. Okay, let's dive right into this. Just imagine you step outside tonight, you look up, and our brightest nocturnal light source is just gone. Poof! Vanished without a trace. So what exactly happens next? You might think, well, it'd just make the night sky a little darker, maybe make it easier to see the stars. But the reality is actually far more severe, and it would impact almost every single system that keeps our planet habitable. Let's start with Section 1, the immediate aftermath, focusing on the first few minutes. We're going to track this slow-rolling planetary crisis from immediate darkness all the way to total ecological collapse. The disaster doesn't strike all at once. It's more like a domino effect. Within minutes, we get dark skies. In a matter of weeks, our oceans become completely stagnant. Give it a few centuries, and planetary winds tear across the globe. And finally, over millennia, we reach total orbital instability. We're going to walk through each of these terrifying phases together. In those very first few minutes, humanity would experience a profound astronomical shock. The night sky would darken entirely. Now, amateur stargazers might actually be thrilled for a split second, right? They'd marvel at this unprecedented, crystal-clear view of the Milky Way. But for scientists and oceanographers, total panic would set in immediately. They would instantly realize the terrifying truth. The invisible gravitational anchor that stabilized Earth for 4 billion years has just been severed. That brings us to Section 2, Collapse of the Oceans, looking at the first few weeks. The moon's gravity is the primary engine driving Earth's ocean tides. Without it, the entire global tidal system would suffer an instantaneous collapse. We'd lose 60% of our tidal pull literally overnight. Tides would shrink to less than half their normal size, since they'd now be driven solely by the distant gravity of the sun. So what does a 40% tidal system actually look like? Well, the difference is night and day. Normally, we have these vibrant, high-velocity tidal zones. That rhythmic, forceful movement of water is absolutely crucial. It circulates nutrients, it clears out waste, and it supports this incredible marine biodiversity. Without the moon, we get catastrophically stagnant oceans. A sudden calm in the water might sound peaceful, but in biology, stagnation is deadly. This sudden stagnation would trigger a massive, cascading environmental failure. Within just a few weeks, we'd see mass marine die-offs starting at the very foundation of the coastal ecosystem. Crabs, sea snails, bait fish, they simply couldn't survive in stagnant, nutrient-deprived waters. And because nature is so deeply interconnected, this localized death ripples right up the food chain. Predators starve. Global fisheries would be completely crippled, and the coastal communities that depend on them would be utterly destroyed. Moving further down our timeline, we enter Section 3, the accelerating Earth, centuries later. We rarely think about it, but the moon's gravitational pull actually acts as a gentle brake on our planet's rotation, keeping our days at a nice, stable 24 hours. Once that gravitational brake is severed, the Earth's rotation gradually begins to speed up over the centuries. This sudden shift in our rotational dynamics violently destabilizes global wind patterns and our jet streams, ultimately leaving us with permanent hypervelocity planetary winds. Because our planet is spinning faster and those jet streams are totally chaotic, the atmosphere basically turns into a weapon. Hurricanes and severe storms would move across continents with unprecedented, terrifying speed. Human infrastructure, our cities, power grids, our homes, they'd be battered by relentless, unpredictable weather fronts. You wouldn't just have hurricane seasons anymore, you'd have a perpetually hostile sky. But incredibly, it gets even worse. Over thousands of years, the ultimate existential threat to human civilization emerges in Section 4, the cosmic wobble, millennia later. The absolute key here is this exact number, 23.5 degrees. This is the steady axial tilt our lunar stabilizer currently maintains for Earth. And why does this matter? Because that specific steady tilt is the exact reason we have predictable, life-sustaining seasons. It dictates the cycle of spring, summer, fall, and winter that life on Earth has adapted to for millions of years. Without our celestial anchor holding us steady at 23.5 degrees, the Earth's axis would just lose its grip. Over millennia, the planet would begin to tilt wildly and unpredictably. We wouldn't just be wobbling a little bit. The planet's tilt could shift anywhere from 0 to 45 degrees.
It's kind of like a spinning top as it loses momentum and starts to dramatically sway. Except that would be planet Earth in the vastness of space.
This kind of orbital instability means sheer climate chaos, creating a stark contrast to the world we know today. Right now, the equator is hot and the tropics are sunny, but in a chaotic climate caused by a wildly shifting axis, equatorial regions might suddenly freeze over and become the new ice caps. Tropical zones could plunge into periods of permanent freezing darkness. The climate wouldn't just change, it would become entirely unrecognizable and completely unstable. And what's the ultimate consequence of all this climate chaos? A total agricultural collapse. The bedrock of human civilization is our ability to predict the seasons and grow food. But if seasons fluctuate wildly from year to year, the agricultural calendar is shattered. Global food production would completely fail. We would face an inability to feed the 8 billion people living on this planet. Humanity simply cannot survive without a predictable climate. Which brings us to part 5, the vital gravity lock, and our conclusion. This whole terrifying timeline, from minutes to millennia, really proves that the moon is way more than just a beautiful ornament in our night sky. Ultimately, it is the vital gravity lock that keeps our planet habitable. It manages our oceans, it tames our winds, and it anchors our seasons. It really is our silent, invisible guardian. So it leaves us with this profound final thought to take away from this explainer, just how fragile is our place in the cosmos. We tend to think of Earth as this unshakable fortress of life, but this scenario reveals that our survival hangs by a literal gravitational thread. Take a moment tonight to step outside, look up at that glowing sphere in the sky, and truly appreciate the delicate, perfect balance it provides in this vast universe. Keep questioning, keep learning, and thank you so much for diving into this with me.